Today is April 4th, 2025. This is the fifth day of our small account challenge in this group. The trade of the day was AREB, and this is a stock we started working with it a couple of days ago when it first came out with what I called fluff news. But that fluff news added to the momentum today because today they had some pretty decent news and they had a technical breakout. And with nothing else on the menu for traders to take, pretty much all eyes were on this one. And this is a super nano float. And I consider anything to be a super nano float if it has less than 3 million outstanding available shares, and this one didn't even have 1 million. The volume on this thing was crazy. I put it back in Discord again for today at 6:55 this morning. One of the things that I want you guys to do is, let me take you to the daily chart. Now, I know it's hard to see because I have all of my lines on the chart. Here's the 50 EMA. Right here. Here's the 34 EMA. So the first day that we worked with this stock was 2 days ago when it came out with that first little fluff news story. Price went from $1.23 all the way up to $8.50. It's crazy for that. So this stock can make really impressive moves. And then yesterday was a little inside bar day. That's what you call an inside bar, where you have a little, like a doji. And then today, price opened, and when it broke above yesterday's high, that's where a lot of traders positioned themselves. The reason I'm on the daily chart is to show you, in addition to candles, look at the EMAs, where they're positioned. And I mentioned to you that the 50 EMA was right around the $16.70. So I colored that one blue so I would know that's where that was. If price was going to maintain levels, it was going to at least try for that 50 EMA on the daily chart. The 50 EMA, it will be somewhat reactionary. And so for continuation to go to the next level, which is the 200 EMA, it is clear up here in the $55 range. That didn't seem very likely to happen today, but in reality, these little super nano floats can absolutely go all the way to $20 in a day. It had short interest, it had news, it had that technical breakout. It's a super nano float. And honestly, it was the only game in town. So that's why this thing had all the momentum. It had all the boxes checked for the stock to be the one to just stick with all day long. Plus, you guys, I only have one trade that I can take. A lot of you aren't doing the small account challenge. At least you're not doing it the way I do it. I focus on leveraging what I think is going to be the best trade of the day. And as you've seen for the past 3 days, I didn't always pick the best trade, but today I managed to pick the best one, and it really made a difference. Anyway, so here's the little pre-market move that it made at about 6:55. That was this candle. And because price was moving so fast, I just let it go. And it was a nice little trade for somebody who took it during pre-market and was done trading for the day. You made some good profits. At opening bell, here was our signal to wait for it to come down and look for that 200 EMA bounce. And sure enough, it held the 200 EMA right here. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 candles. Absolutely held that level. Then we had the buyers step in. The buyers actually stepped in back here, but I wasn't convinced until we had some pretty good support above this Discord level of 592, and it was just above the 200 EMA. So that gave some pretty good logic to get in there. Yes, I was below some other EMAs, but I did get in at $6.15 because it held the 200 EMA. And I knew the juice that this thing had behind it, right? And I told you guys in the commentary on Discord that it had news, it had short interest, and it was a super nano float. And we saw the move that it was capable of making during pre-market, and we've seen what it can do on previous days that we worked with it. So we know this thing can go. So I got in at $6.15. Yes, we had this critical level at $9.25. Price found that level. And I know a lot of you were wondering, how did I stay in at the critical level? And that's because my stop loss kept me in. After my entry, first my stop loss was this level right here. Then price pushed to this target. It pushed to this one. It held this level. It pushed to this one. Now it needs to hold this level. Then price pushed to this one. It never pulled back to this one. Price just kind of was pushing through levels. And I thought, well, I'm going to move my stop loss to this one because this one has suddenly become totally irrelevant. I moved my stop loss up to this one, which was like 745 or whatever it was. As price went up to the critical level, I just stayed with it. Told myself, I'm profitable. I might as well just stay with the trade. We have the 50 EMA, the 34 EMA. They're right at this level now. So as long as it holds this level, I'll stay in. Turns out it held this level here, which was 770 or 775 or 780, somewhere in there. Held that level. As long as it held this line, I stayed with it. I was profitable. Didn't matter to me at this point. And like I say, I don't look at my profit loss. I just know, hey, I got in here, price is here, I'm profitable. Stay in, allow it to climb the stairs. And logic said that, hey, this level, it will probably prove as support. It's got a lot of juice behind it with being a nano float, having so much news and momentum and short interest and everything. When they came out with the news today, I knew that the short interest was going to add to the momentum. So I expected this level to be proven at some point. And sure enough, price pushed here. So now my stop loss was this, but I'm giving it a little breathing room because we had the 50 EMA. I hadn't visited that for a while. So when price came back down to this 925 level and candle bodies were starting to close, I allowed it to let the 50 tell us what it's going to do here because it hasn't been there. When it bounced off the 200, usually price comes back down to the 50 and proves the 50 before it continues. Well, it hadn't done that yet. It hadn't even proved the 34. We had a couple of bounces, and that was basically the proving of the 50 and the 34. At this point, it had proved all the EMAs for continuation. So I stayed with it through that little bit of choppiness. It wasn't too hard. I was profitable. So there's no reason not to. I could see the buyer volume was outshining any seller volume. I had that on my side too. Staying with the trade and just letting it climb the stairs. And as you can see, it hit this target, came back down. It skipped this one a little bit, but when you have price pushing through multiple targets, you might want to be a little more generous with your stop loss. Allow price to pull back deeper, especially with a nano float or a super nano float. Allow price a little breathing room, especially when the levels are so tight together. So it held the levels, price pushed up to this one. This would be my new stop. Price just kept pushing up. So that's when I switched up my game and I made my stop loss a little tighter. I brought it to this level. Then when it hit here, I brought it to this level. So price hit this blue one. I colored blue because that was the 50 EMA on the daily chart. And I wanted to kind of know where the 50 EMA was on the daily chart. I wasn't sure if we were going to get that level proven, but I kept this as my stop to stay with it. No bodies closing below this $15.25 level. So continuation. Staying with the trade. Here's our next target. Now I'm going to use the 50, this level, which was the 50 EMA, use that as my stop. Price held it. Now we have a new high. I'm going to use this as my stop loss, and price continued. And let me tell you something about the $20 level. That's going to be a psychological level for retail traders. That's why it went up to almost 21. I didn't sell at the high. I sold right here at $19.45. And then price just kind of hung out there. It stayed there for quite a while. It kept hitting that level, but I was out. I knew that $20 level was going to be a psychological level. Then I started to see wicks and tails, wicks and tails. I mean, how many? We had one here, one here, one here. And then it was Doji City for a while. And then we had this little bit of chop. Had I not gotten out here, I mean, I would have gotten out on any of these because it just started to get really questionable. You saw chop in there. And will it continue? I think it will. Maybe not today, but there's no reason at all for this stock not to continue at this point. We have a technical breakout. If it can hold the daily 50 EMA as support, you're going to see continuation on that. So I want you guys to continue to get in the habit of checking that daily chart. I may not tell you every little detail. It's not my job at this point. I've given you the tools, and in this video you've probably got a couple of new little nuggets. We look at the EMAs on the 1-minute chart. Why are we not looking at the EMAs on the daily chart? So get in the habit. They usually will offer you a breakout signal, and they may offer you a target. But we also have other targets that we work with. The takeaway from this video today is check the daily chart. Right? Don't leave it all up to me. Check the daily chart. I gave you a ton of information on the initial alert on this thing. Possible chop from $15.25 to 18 or 19. I wasn't really sure which level would be the choppy top. We knew it had news. We knew it had a short interest. It's just off to the races with something like this. So look what it's trying to do now. It's trying to work on that 50 EMA level, $16.70 that I told you guys in Discord that's going to be a level. And I'm telling you now in this video that keep it on watch. If this thing proves that level, it could go to 50. Did you see where, well, I don't know where the 200 EMA will be on the daily chart next week. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't see any reason at all why it wouldn't hit $50 or $55 potentially, and possibly higher, because we have these levels over here, which I haven't yet marked. But you see these high wicks? We've got one there, several, ooh, a whole bunch right there. Wow. Okay, that's going to be a critical level. Did you see how I found that? Resistance, resistance, and then if you scale over here, this is a major critical level. That's probably where it's going to go. That is the $60.34. Right there, you see how I'm drawing the levels, okay? I just eyeball things. It's not rocket science. This will be a little bit choppy in here. So don't expect it to fly through that very easily. In fact, if you want to draw a chop box, that's definitely going to be an area of some chop. That 200 EMA is coming down into that. If it comes down to this bottom, I would say $50. Okay, $50 is going to be a good level for this one if it continues. We have other levels of chop, but if it proves each level, so let me update you on my account. So my entry was at $6.15. Right up just above the 200 EMA where it had bounced. My exit was $19.45. I made $4,123 on that trade. So now in just 5 days, my account is at $6,036.55. This trade took 160 minutes, but it was definitely worth it to stick with that trade, right? And this is what I want you guys to do. Don't be afraid. If you see a breakout potential on a daily chart with news, short interest, and a super nano float, you're going to want to be on that stock like a wolf with lockjaw, because it's going to give you some serious profits. So today's trade was a 216% profit gain. This from here to here, that's about 216%. So overall, my account in just 5 days, my account has grown over 1,100%. So do you see the power of asymmetric compounding with a small account? This is just a $500 teeny tiny account. And you guys are on these same stocks. You've seen, I haven't always picked the best trade of the day, but when you play it smart, you can really make every penny that it moves count in your favor. Yeah, it does start out slow. 200, 300, 100, 700, 4,000. That was some pretty good lunch money right there. I hope you are starting to see the importance of trying to do a little bit of the research yourself. I can't be spoon feeding you every little detail because that's not being fair to you. It's not helping you to be able to stand on your own legs. So that's the point of this small account challenge. We're going to have other trades like this. We're going to see this. This was just a 300% gainer. Yes, 300% is pretty darn good. I think it was at the high point was 360 something percent. And that's really good. But we see stocks that move 1,000%. Not every day, obviously, but a couple of times a year, we'll get a couple that'll go over 1,000%. But during the month, we see a couple of these that move 300%, even 600%. We had one the other day that was up 600%. We've had a really good week overall. I want to show you guys something. The NASDAQ and the Dow. The Dow is down. It was down even more. It's kind of see how the chart's coming up a little bit here. And this is 15 minutes delayed. I don't know what it really is at the moment. But right now, at the time of this recording, the Dow is in the negative 1,575 points. The NASDAQ is down 737. At one point, it was 800 and something, and it was flirting with that 6%. The market halts totally. Everything shuts down when this reaches 7%. So keep that in mind, that even though we saw a bloodbath on the market today, and yesterday was ugly too, but not as bad for the NASDAQ yesterday as it has been today. When we see a really bad market overall, look what we did. And like I say, this thing was up 360% or something like that a little bit ago. So don't let the market rock you, okay? Don't let it scare you. I was trading all through COVID. I've been trading for a long time. I've been trading for over a decade. But when COVID hit, everybody's like, oh, the market's crashing. And yeah, the indexes, we had 1 day or 2 days in a row, or maybe there were 3 days in a row, where the market just halted. The market, not a stock, but the entire market. It just, one halt after another. And this went on for days when the big sell-off hit, but then we had the big rebound. But in the case of what we're dealing with now, we're going to see little stocks that we work with every single day. We're going to see stocks just move, okay? We'll have slow days, of course, but continue to have amazing days. But you're going to have at least one really good day a week. Like, I'm talking magnificently good. if you just pay attention and leverage your shares properly. I'm just taking one trade a day, and look what I did. Now, next week, I'm going to try and help you a little more, focusing on daily chart breakouts, because we haven't really covered that a whole lot. I have in a couple of videos shown you how to find these levels, right? But I'm going to focus more this next week on reading the daily chart, because I don't see very many of you guys hitting the daily chart. You're starting to recognize news. Maybe a few of you are starting to look at float and that sort of thing, but you're still leaning on me. If something happened to me and I suddenly was gone from this planet, you guys wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, some of you will, because some of you are really catching on and using the skills that you're learning and exercising it and not relying on me completely. But I still see some of you in the group asking, do you think it's going to go here? Do you think it's going to go there? Is this a good setup? My whole goal is, if I were to disappear because, I got hit by a diesel truck or something next week, I want you guys to know how to read a chart. I care about you guys to the degree that I don't want to spoon feed you. I want you to be able to go out there and grab the trades yourself and feel that sense of championship that you feel when you know how to read price action, when you know how to read a daily chart, when you can put these lines on and just predict where price is going to go. Now, I also have a video out there that I've done for you guys that teaches you how to do the predictive strategy. We had one stock, WTF was hilarious, right? But the magic behind that one was a predictive strategy that I gave you guys. And if I go back, let me look at that one right now. WTF, the day that it ran, it was a late day runner because it was an IPO. Do you see how it treated these levels? These were levels where price had never been before. And yet, look how I nailed them. Oh my gosh, look how I nailed them. Look how I nailed them. And you guys, I was only using a few candles of price action to plot these lines for you. It's pretty amazing. And I already have a video on this that teaches you. The magic is if you can confirm. Okay, you need to learn how to be able to confirm your levels to make sure. That will tell you got them right. And if you can confirm them, you're set. Okay? And that's all I have for you in this video. I hope you guys found value in this week with our first week of the small account challenge. I don't look at profit loss when I'm in a trade. I don't want that to influence my decisions when I have levels telling me what to do. Okay? Levels and volume. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, let me know and we'll talk soon.